In Romania, heavy snowfall has closed many national roads and several motorways. 80-kilometre-an-hour winds resulted in flights being cancelled, villages being left without electricity, and 2 fatalities in a road accident in the south of the country.
You saw it in the sky last night. Some of you, in fact, called our newsroom saying you saw a bright light moving across the sky. Now, today, an astronomy professor told us what you saw was a fireball, a brighter version of a meteor.
They sometimes make noise, either from a sonic boom or an explosion. Meteorites are dense, made mostly of iron.
Red-hot lava streams have been sighted flowing down the sides of Europe's most active volcano, Mount Etna, on the Italian island of Sicily. The eruption is the first of 2014 after a particularly active year in 2013.
Hey, good morning. And before we get to the weather, I actually want to show you this video of something that's been popping up across the country this winter.
They are called snow rollers, so rare most have never seen one.
And they're cylinders made of snow with a hollow center. You can see it right there on your screen. Pretty cool stuff. And they are created by the wind. So the wind actually rolls that into that shape, similar to how we would roll a snowball to make a snowman. And that's been happening across states like Pennsylvania and also in Ohio. But now the weather conditions.
Brutal deep freeze now, hitting so many millions. I mean, someone said 80 million Americans affected by this. And look at the deep south, too. Severe winter weather creating dangerous conditions in Texas and Virginia, North Carolina. A mix of snow and sleet and ice, and the wind chill readings well below zero. This is very rare. As you know, it's the kind of weather you might see once in a generation.
And as you said, such weather events, cold weather events, are so rare in this part of the country that these communities, all up and down throughout the southeast, don't have the large fleets of heavy equipment that you need to deal with such storms that you might find in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, they're not used to it like we are up here north. Things are so bad, a number of school districts down south issued shelter-in-place orders. Nearly
10,000 kids were trapped at their schools overnight. 16-hour commutes were not uncommon.
6 states from Louisiana to North Carolina have declared a state of emergency, and in Georgia alone, crews have already responded to more than 900 accidents.
We even kept 14 Atlanta area stores open overnight to offer shelter to stranded drivers.
This is a complete and utter disaster, and people were actually, and people were taking to social media in order to look for help.
Another item from our natural world, the problem in Clovis, New Mexico is tumbleweeds, several feet of them in some places.
Residents are calling these nearly impassable streets and packed front yards the tumbleweed invasion of 2014. The city's Public Works Department has been cleaning tumbleweeds since Sunday night, when they say high winds swept thousands of the prickly weeds into town.
Lived here for 23 years and never seen this, so it's pretty crazy.
The city says it'll be out here for weeks cleaning up the mess.
Swollen rivers threatening parts of Italy. The River Arno burst its banks, causing flooding around the Tuscan towns of Pisa and Florence. These aerial pictures show how some homes in the region are completely cut off. More than 1,000 people are caught up, many of them forced to evacuate their homes.
Floods in parts of central Italy have left behind significant destruction. This was the aftermath of a huge mudslide that floodwater brought to the town of Capena near Rome.
The capital, Rome, has also been hit hard, with residents in the north advised not to drive.
In the Dolomites to the north, the army was forced to intervene with snowplows to deal with the record amount of snow in the Veneto region. All mountain passes were closed after more than 2 meters of snow fell. Train services to and from neighboring Austria came to a halt. Temperatures have risen in the Alps, leading to fears of avalanches.
Violent eruptions from Indonesia's Mount Sinabung leaving at least 16 people dead, which officials say is the first time the volcano has claimed any lives.
Listed among the dead, 4 high school students and their teacher. The eruption came a day after authorities allowed thousands of nearby villagers who had been evacuated to return home, saying the volcano's activity was decreasing.
An earthquake with a 6.1 magnitude has struck off western Greece just 1 week after another quake hit the same area. Seismologists say it was centered near the island of Kefalonia and was felt in the capital, Athens.
Kefalonia was first hit on January 26th, with a quake measuring 5.8 on the Richter scale. Since then, hundreds of residents have been sleeping in their cars or passenger ferries docked at the island, either unable or too afraid to enter their homes.
Rescue operations are still underway in different parts of Iran to help those affected by the country's heaviest snowfalls in almost 5 decades.
The Iranian Red Crescent Society says over 10,000 people trapped in 18 different provinces have been rescued. Rescue operations are also underway in the northern provinces of Gilan and Mazandaran, where the storm dumped an average 1.5 meters of snow in some areas. The heavy snow has left nearly 500,000 people without electricity and gas there. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has ordered authorities to closely follow the situation.
More than 400 dead dolphins were found last month mysteriously washed up on the Pacific Ocean beaches of northern Peru. Authorities never established the cause of the death and are now carrying out autopsies on the mammals.
And it's not just dolphins being washed ashore. A sea turtle and a seal among the dead too.
As picture perfect as it looks, snow has brought havoc to Slovenia. In a country of around 2 million people, 1 in 4 homes are without power. And that's because of this. All people can do is wait until help arrives. But that help may take some time. Blizzards have disrupted transport and closed more than 40% of schools. And if that wasn't bad enough, people have been asked not to drink the tap water either. The winter blast has caused chaos in Serbia, Croatia, and Germany too. This is Austria. Homeowners have been shoveling for days. The wintry conditions are also causing problems in Italy, where they are suffering from widespread flooding. Torrential rain has caused misery for homeowners. Just getting around is a challenge, which is why the tens of thousands affected will be hoping an end to this extreme weather is in sight soon.
Now imagine waking up to find that your car has disappeared, swallowed by a sinkhole in your driveway.
This is what happened in Buckinghamshire yesterday when a 30-foot hole opened up in front of Zoe Smith's house, taking her car with it. Luckily, no one was injured, but the local council now investigating why the sinkhole, which measures 15 foot in diameter, appeared.
We want to get to today's top story, and guess what? It's the weather. Cold, wet, dangerous, and slamming half the country right now. This monster snow started falling on Tuesday. Already, it's impacted 115 million people in nearly 24 states. This stretches from the Midwest, where schools are canceled and there are states of emergency, all the way up to the Northeast.
From Maryland to New Jersey to Maine, it's lights out for many, but it's especially bad in Pennsylvania.
As of early Thursday, at least 500,000 homes and businesses in Pennsylvania didn't have power. Utilities say it could take until Saturday to restore power to everyone there. Utility companies said it could take until Friday to restore power to the 125,000 customers still in the dark in Maryland.
The governor of Pennsylvania has compared the effort to get the lights back on to that of Superstorm Sandy.
This storm is, in some respects, as bad or maybe even worse than Hurricane Sandy.
We really want people to understand that there is significant damage that needs to be repaired, so we will be working on this for many days to come.
More than 3,000 utility workers are trying to get this area back online. But trees brought down by the weight of a half-inch of ice have blocked access for crews from as far away as Arkansas and Massachusetts.
Those downed trees, plus iced-over power lines, cutting electricity to more than 1 million customers throughout the Northeast.
Record-setting frigid temperatures and snowfall are causing record-breaking cleanup costs along the eastern seaboard. In parts of Maine, where snowfall is nearing 17 inches above average for this time of year, crews are out in full force even as funds dwindle.
They activated Ice Force Level 1 in Dallas today, which launched a fleet of trucks to sand slippery roads. In this winter of strange and severe weather, even central Texas got a rare snowfall. More than 500,000 homes and businesses are still without power in the Northeast. The average low temperature in the continental U.S. today was 11 degrees, the lowest of the season.
First the storm, now the single-digit temperatures moving in, freezing everything in place. Just look, this from Maryland tonight. The power lines turning to icicles, snapping with cars underneath. In Philadelphia, that state of emergency in Pennsylvania tonight, hundreds of thousands spending this evening in the dark as those temperatures now plummet.
Battered by the sea, this is Devon. Huge tides whip homes and businesses. It seems the severe weather that's affected parts of Britain for days is not going away anytime soon.
A vital rail link in southwest England left hanging. The visible evidence of a storm which has battered the region caused widespread flooding and political posturing. British Prime Minister David Cameron has pledged an extra €35 million. Too little, too late, say critics. It's estimated the region's economy has been hit to the tune of €2.5 million each day.
Meanwhile, much of southern England and parts of the Midlands have experienced twice the average rainfall in January.
These are the scenes in Moreland that have seen people in around 140 homes urged to evacuate due to the ongoing devastation caused by flooding. After more heavy rain overnight, there is no sign of the waterline dropping for those living in the Somerset levels. But help is at hand. Royal Marines work to build sandbag defences across the region, as well as assisting with the evacuation of residents.
I mean, this is particularly dramatic given that today is a relatively clear day, so in bright sunshine you can see quite clearly the level of misery that this water has brought to this particular area.
Other parts of the county have been underwater for 5 weeks, with some properties suffering 3 waves of separate flooding. Southern England has experienced its worst spell of winter rainfall in nearly 250 years.
Record rainfall has also been causing havoc here in Cork in Ireland, resulting in a nightmarish journey home for people returning from work. Business owners did what they could, but couldn't stop the inevitable.
The northwest of France has also been in the front line of the gales and rain. In one town, homes close to the sea have been evacuated. Weather warnings remain in place across the northwest of France. Authorities said 70,000 homes were without power, and the number could rise after winds of 120 kilometers per hour hit the coastline on Thursday night.
The weather's changing dramatically in the west. A rare snowstorm pounded Portland, Oregon yesterday,
where relentless snow and ice is impacting millions. Take a look at some of this video. There were 600 crashes in Oregon alone.
At least 2 deaths are blamed on a fierce winter storm in the Pacific Northwest. As much as 18 inches of snow fell in some places in 2 days. A number of roads are icy and dangerous, resulting in wipeouts, crashes, and cars sliding. Some cars were abandoned by the side of the road.
So disruptive is the winter storm that's blasting the Pacific Northwest. Early this morning, the city of Portland sent its first ever wireless emergency alert to cell phones, urging all residents to stay indoors today and not travel due to ice.
Now head a little further south, an area that certainly needs the rain, but California is getting inches of it. Homes and highways were flooded north of San Francisco, and this is a type of pattern that's going to set up that brings up to perhaps 9 to 11 inches in some parts of California.
Desperately needed for the driest year so far in the state's history. Still not enough to ease the drought.
The worst snowstorm in decades has swept across Japan, killing 13 people and injuring more than 1,500. The storm dumped 13 inches of snow on an area, parts of which were devastated by the tsunami in March 2011. This is the heaviest fall recorded here in 78 years.
The biggest snowstorm in 45 years blanketed the Tokyo metropolitan area on Saturday with 27 centimeters of snow accompanied by strong winds.
Tens of thousands lost power and hundreds of flights were cancelled. While some waited to fly out of the Japanese capital, many incoming air passengers struggled to get home due to conditions on the roads.
This CCTV captures the shocking moment a sinkhole swallows 8 rare Corvettes at a car museum in Kentucky.
First, you see the ground shake a little. Then a black hole seems to open up underneath the orange car. But watch here, a short time later, the ground completely caves, swallowing the iconic cars.
After sweeping through wide swaths of the South, a winter storm dumped more than a foot of snow in parts of the mid-Atlantic region.
This storm has caused real suffering. 100 million Americans in its path in 14 separate states, 1 million air travelers affected in all. For a time today, the number of people without electricity hovered near 750,000.
Across the South, the storm encased power lines with more than an inch of ice capable of bringing down trees.
Alexander in North Carolina, where thousands of drivers found themselves stuck in Charlotte's Web. With up to 6 inches of snow falling, more than this city averages in an entire year, by mid-afternoon, the backups extended for miles. Gridlock extended to Raleigh-Durham, too, with some people abandoning their cars altogether.
The most destructive storm so far this winter is taking one last shot at the Northeast.
Philadelphia, the storm reaching historic proportions.
This winter storm has now broken a 130-year record for the most 6-inch-plus storms in a season.
This morning, millions along the East Coast crippled by ice and heaps of snow. The storm already responsible for at least 20 deaths.
As of yesterday, 49 of the 50 states were covered in snow. The only holdout, the Sunshine State of Florida.
A volcano has erupted in Indonesia, covering the country's most heavily populated island in ash. More than 100,000 people have been evacuated and 3 international airports shut down. That eruption on Java Island left 2 people dead after the roofs of their homes collapsed.
Sharing the weather misery battering the eastern U.S. is Great Britain, being hit by what's described as the worst run of weather in 250 years. In fact, take a look at this incredible satellite photo. It shows the latest storms of the U.S. and U.K. linked by a sweeping band of clouds across the Atlantic.
Catastrophic flooding has swallowed neighborhoods in southern England whole, worsened by yet another ferocious storm that swept in over the weekend. It's been relentless. 20 inches of rain and counting. Last month was the rainiest ever. If anything, this month has been even worse. For months, Britain has been battered by savage winter storms packing hurricane-force winds and torrential rain.
As floodwaters continue to rise across much of England and Wales, at least 3 people have been killed.
At least 42 people have been killed and more than 50,000 affected by heavy rains and severe flooding across parts of Bolivia. Families grab what they can and flee in boats or canoes, forced to leave behind their animals.
Ranchers are worried. They say nearly 4 million cattle are in danger of dying. Torrential rains have left devastation throughout North and South Bolivia. In the state of Beni, the waters are racing by the minute.
Barges have reportedly been used to transport tons of food to victims who are cut off from resources due to the high waters.
Officials say the torrential rains have already flooded 80% of the state, an area 5 times the size of Switzerland.
So severe is the situation in parts of Bolivia that the government has declared a state of emergency. Rain is expected here at this time of year, but this year it's been particularly intense. Tens of thousands are in desperate need, and the government says help is on its way. But whilst the heavy rain continues, the fear is there could yet be more loss of life.
Well, fresh heavy snow in eastern Japan has left 12 people dead and over 1,000 injured. The snowstorm has led to widespread power outages, with officials saying that nearly 250,000 homes were without power at one point on Saturday.
Thousands of drivers trapped in standstill traffic for nearly a day. Officials set up portable toilets on the highways and delivered food to people stuck. Japan's been hit by a second wave of heavy snowfall in a week. Roofs buckled under the weight of snow, including at this gymnasium in Fujimi City.
A further 2,150 people have been evacuated from their homes over fears the weight of the snow would cause their houses to collapse.
The result? Record snowfall levels in central Japan for 120 years.
A series of unusual earthquakes rattled Oklahoma overnight, the largest of magnitude 3.8. Those quakes follow a rare pair of jolts in South Carolina. The first on Friday registered a magnitude 4.1. That was near the border with Georgia. A few miles away, a 3.2 aftershock hit on Sunday afternoon.
You think of plates rubbing against each other like the San Andreas Fault. This is different. We are in the middle of the North American plate. How can there be an earthquake here in the middle of a plate? This is called an intraplate earthquake, an earthquake that takes place inside one of the plates. But these intraplate earthquakes are because of fissures in the plate that are very ancient. We haven't even cataloged them yet.
If you're in Oklahoma and you think you feel the ground shake, A, you're probably right. There have been 103 freaking earthquakes in Oklahoma just since Friday. Apparently, the more shallow earthquakes are in Oklahoma, well, those are the ones that are more likely to sound like bombs going off. They make huge explosion sounds.
Already, cities in the eastern United States have seen huge increases in snowfall this winter. Toledo, Ohio, over 42 inches more than normal. Newark, New Jersey, over 41 inches more than normal. New York City's Central Park has received over 40 inches more than normal. Bridgeport, Connecticut, over 36 inches more than usual. And in Allentown, Pennsylvania, over 44 inches above normal. People in agreement everywhere. Enough already.
A blast of thunder and a brilliant flash of lightning.
I saw a big ball of light.
A February thunderstorm rocks part of the region that had some running for cover and left destruction in its wake.
Looks like those sound waves were so strong, some people said their windows were blown out. We were in Philadelphia's Roxborough neighborhood as crews responded to reports of broken windows and power outages. Thankfully, no one was hurt. People all over the city, though, couldn't believe what they heard.
Neighbor after neighbor still scratching their heads, wondering what happened. Windows were shattered, many blown out completely as an unusual jolt of thunder and lightning passed through our area.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, this one is worth that and then some.
A pond in this Wichita neighborhood has turned red. Half of it is owned by Freddie Fernandez, who says the water started turning pink in the morning and then just kept getting redder and redder all day.
Residents in Midwest and the South are picking up the pieces today after 22 tornadoes ripped through 8 states. Illinois was hardest hit with 8 twisters over the last 2 days. There was extensive damage to homes, but no injuries reported.
This is Concord, Illinois. Same tornado in the background. That's snow. Piles of slush in the foreground, tornado in the background. You want to talk about whiplash? Never seen that before.